So, in today's session, we're going to answer our design interns questions. And here's the first question.
Hi sir, this is Neha. So my first question is, can you suggest any innovative strategies while doing market research and to study and understand consumer behavior, like in Indian context, while they buy things or products, as we can see, there is a diverse consumer base in India. So, how will be a strategy for them?
Neha mentioned understanding what the buyer's perspective is, and what the buyer thinks when you buy something and there's a buyer and a seller contrast. So, what would be your thoughts on the same?
So I see Neha has got interesting query rather than question. She was very much specifying about when we are doing a research in India, and especially if we want to understand Indian consumer behavior, how do we do that? Is there any innovative strategies to understand consumer? Was kind of a query. Let's look at consumer understanding. Okay, so how do we understand consumer? That too in the context of Indian consumer. There are a few researchers who are constantly do research on consumer, Indian consumer. They write books, they write papers. So one way you get exposed to their writings. So there's one interesting book called, it's a little old book, but it's still valid. We Are Like That Only. I think it's written by Rama Bijapurkar. She's a strategist, she's a researcher. And that book looks deeply into Indian consumer behavior. And she occasionally write articles on various consumer behaviors in this country. Like her, there are several other writers or researchers who keep on publishing and writing a lot of these business magazines. So one best way is that tracking those articles, reading those articles is one way you get understanding about Indian consumers, their behavior, and at least you'll come to know how this whole consumer persona is created in India. It's slightly different than West, so therefore referring to study material is important. That's the best strategy according to me, because either you yourself go to all the four corners of India and do the research, which is next to impossible. The best thing is buy their books and read them first. Maybe once working on any given project, if that required real field research, that time you can go and do the research. Yeah. One last thing, like there is, I think, publication if I remember rightly, there's a the Week magazine, which yearly comes up with white paper magazine, wherein they kind of predict trends in the Indian market for coming year, or they analyze the trends. In those articles also, they write quite a bit about consumer behavior shifts, consumer behavior changes or paradigm shifts. And there are a good number of international consultancies, including McKinsey. They keep coming up with papers on Indian consumer behavior change or evolution in Indian consumer purchasing pattern. So you guys can refer that. Like that, doing secondary research is the best option for you to acquaint with what is happening with Indian consumer and understanding the Indian market. That's my answer.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting take, and I'm definitely going to go purchase that book and get more insights and read about it. Thank you so much.
What other questions Neha has? We can go for the following question.
Sure. So, if I have to read out the question to you, her second question states that how can we understand the need and the expectations of the target user while doing any research project?
the research is meant to figure out need. So yeah, the research, we use it for many purposes. One is that sometimes we don't have clear understanding about what is the need in the market. Maybe we do a research to figure out what people need. Generally, whenever we do research, there is an objective. Okay. So if you made an objective of your research to figure out the need, then that is a need finding research. It's called need finding research. There are several kind of research, fundamental research, and you name it, like applied research, and like that. There are several research. We appropriate them according to our requirement. I'm just taking two words from your question. One word happens to be need, another happens to be research. So if I want to find out consumer needs using research, then I'll gear up my research like that. Or else I do open-ended research, then I figure out, hey, these are the emerging 2 needs or 3 needs. Let me work upon them. Like that, I customize my research. Either I do according to need-based research, or else I do research and I kind of dig needs out of that research. So that's my answer for your question.
Great. I think that's very insightful. And you rightly said that we do research to find the need of the hour, and it covers, all the points which were questioned as well. So thank you so much again.
So I believe Neha might be having a few more questions because she loves to ask questions.
Sure.
My third question is, while designing a product, what type of strategies we can apply to balance budget constraints of a product without compromising on the design quality?
Yeah, I think as a product designer, that's a kind of a core thing because you need to make things tangible. Okay. So as a product designer, you have to think about material cost, production cost, and you have to keep that ballpark. Generally, a client in his brief, they do mention that, hey, we cannot exceed a cost beyond this. Okay, there's a ballpark budget is given. So as a product designer, you need to be a little meticulous. Like for example, of course, when we're doing a prototype, sometime budget might go 10-15% above, or if it is below, good. If it is above, that is when the worry begins. So now the question is, if it is going like 50% above, then it is a real problem. You have to figure out, how do I reduce, maybe changing the material, changing the volume, or whatnot. So as a product designer, it is your priority that not only designing a good product, but produced within the given budget constraint. There is no set strategy, but you know very well, like through materials we can reduce cost, through volume we can reduce a cost, maybe through process we can reduce a cost. If the cost is exceeding, then we looked at ways in which we can reduce the cost. So that way we try to balance the budget and the quality of product. Yeah. So it's more of a balancing act and utilizing intelligence. I hope it makes sense.
I think that's rightly said, because it's all about finding the right balance. How you can work on the budget which is allocated by the client and having the best designs. Because I see a lot of times, because of the budget constraint, the quality is compromised and it's not what you get. So yeah, like rightly mentioned, it's about working out in that box but producing something really nice. So yes.
So let's go for following question. Next question.